Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Marc. This is your first time here. Welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This podcast is here for everyone on the open mic circuit. Whether you're a comedian, an MC, a promoter, a tutor, even comedy fans who really do enjoy spending their time in pub basements watching the possible stars of the future. If you're thinking, I could do that, then this podcast will give you the inside track on what to expect on this crazy circuit. Today's guest is a man who loves a good shirt, can be found at all the open mics in London and beyond. Most will know him as a regular MC at We Are Funny Project, and no, he's not the one with the muscles. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Paul Little.
Hello.
Hello, sir. I thought you might like that last bit.
Yeah, thank you. That was good. Obviously, talking about my erstwhile colleague, Luke Terry.
Yes. He likes to show off a little bit every so often.
Why not? If you've got it, I think flaunt it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
I mean, it's not something you or me, Mark, are going to be, at the moment anyway, flaunting. So, good on him.
Oh, definitely. A little shout out to Luke before we get going.
I like, I like to give props to my people who I know. Yeah.
So come on then, how did it all start for you? How long have you been going and all that? Give us some background.
I was thinking about this. I started stand-up properly. Like, I thought, I'll give... Because there was some aborted attempts. I think you always have a few... Listening to people on this podcast, you have a few people who try it and then stop. So I had a couple of them. Yeah. So that was, I think... I first tried it in stand-up in 2009, actually.
Wow.
I realised. And then, for whatever reasons, a few reasons, it didn't stick. And then I started again in 2016. And for whatever reasons, it didn't stick. But I did start performing improv.
Right.
I think it was just a time thing.
Yeah.
So with improv, it's the stand-up's the writing, isn't it? So with improv, it was more, and I sort of fell in love with improv, and I've done that for 4 years essentially, and really enjoying that, training in improv, performing improv around London, different places in the country, and really loving it. I still perform improv, but then in 2019, I was like, I'm back. I'd like to do. I started thinking about doing stand-up again. I think it was because I started writing for a website called News Biscuit, which is a satirical news website.
Yeah.
And that really got me into writing, like comedy. It's a different thing writing for a comedy, a website, like stories for them. So you write satirical stories. Some of them are political. Mine weren't. They're just silly stories. But that got me into writing again. So I had started writing comedy again. And so then, it's just a natural progression going, well, okay, I've got these little bits, things I think funny. They don't get accepted by News Biscuit, but maybe they'll work on stage. So I started in 2019 just doing like two, amongst the improv. I was doing improv quite regularly. So amongst the improv, I started just doing 2 gigs, maybe a month, not lots, but, just keeping my hand in. And then I thought, I really enjoyed that 2019. Now, I might step it up in 2020. And then...
So where somebody mentions 2020, it's like, and then silence.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone knows what happened in 2020. So, and then essentially stand-up came back quicker in after the pandemic. Not after the pandemic, it lasted quite a while, but there were stand-up gigs that started happening more than improv shows.
Right.
I think so, and a lot of improv companies and theatres didn't put on anything. So I was just, I'll try and find as gigs as I can, doing a bit of stand-up, and obviously had online gigs, which I didn't really do a lot of, but I did a few. Yeah. But comedy clubs like that. Open mic comedy clubs started coming back a bit more, so you could do. And then so I still do improv. I still love improv, but I do more stand up maybe now.
So the improv it's more of the thinking like out loud on stage and the acting out and the performance rather than the writing kind of thing.
Yeah, it was just time. We always have to, when we're doing the mics and everything like that, you've got to find a bit of time to write.
Yeah.
And I think around the 2016, I just didn't have time to write. But with improv, you could just go there if you were training. If you're in a theatre, you were training to do improv and performing in the evenings. So you didn't. The daytime was just yours. You had to work, and so I quite, that was best for me at the time. So it was the performing and the getting together with people, and just performing really. So.
Yeah, I guess it must be quite a change, because I'm assuming with improv, you're, like you say, you're on stage with other people, so you've got other people to bounce off. But stand up is the opposite. It is just you, and how you deal with just you, and knowing that what you're writing is just for you. It's not for anybody else. Yeah,
that was exactly it. It is a group improv, isn't it? Where it's group improv, so 2 or more people.
Yeah.
So you're the audience. One main difference I found, what I've discovered, having done improv, then gone to stand up, then come back a bit more with improv now, is that when you went on stage with a group, the audience perception of you was, oh, this person's funny because they really find him funny on stage. Is a reassurance. But when you walk on a stage, a stand up, it's just you. No, there's not any group to say, oh, this person's a nice person or anything like that. Trust this person, because you've got that trust. So that's the main thing. Like, you have to get used to, I think, if you do improv. It's quite 2 separate things, I think.
Yeah.
And it took quite a bit of getting used to, of forgetting a lot of improv stuff and just concentrating on doing the stand up.
Yeah, I guess by the improv is actually probably a very good grounding as such for the MC work that you do with We Are Funny project.
Yes, I think it does help with emceeing, as in thinking on your feet.
Yeah,
the improv, because I think that's just reacting to the audience, I think. So also when you present an improv show, if you're the one hosting the improv show, if your group is doing, you go out front, make everyone, hello, this is our show, which prepares you for doing emceeing, because that's what you do as emceeing. This is our show. This is me. This is the show. This is what we're going to do. So I think, it definitely helps you on stage as an MC. Yes, definitely. I mean, it's a different thing, because improv's all about character, performing character. You're really not. It's all about the group rather than yourself. And that's, I suppose, that is, thinking about it now, I haven't really thought about it, but I suppose that is how you host a show. It's about the group of comedians and how the show is going to be, I suppose.
Yeah, and you keep that, as an MC, you keep that little thing going between the acts to make sure that you bring the levels up or you bring the levels down of the audience, so that each act, in effect, gets a fair crack of the whip of what's going on. You don't want somebody coming on after something really raucous, and their style is a little bit lower, and you kind of like, no, we need to get the crowd down just that little bit, so that when this next person comes on, the crowd are just like, they've gone from a 9 out of 10 down to like a 6, and they're like, we're ready.
Yeah, exactly. So you have, I mean, that is, I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I've been emceeing for a year and a half nearly now.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I'm only starting to get a handle, because I think you MC after like doing 100 gigs and you think, well, I've done 100 gigs. It's going to be, it's going to be fine. And especially if you're running the room as well, because if you go to the bigger clubs, the MC's not running the room. They're not. But if you host your own night, you're really hosting. You have to book all the acts in, make sure everyone knows the running order, deal with the venue, set up and everything like that. So you are running around. I mean, Chris Alley, I think, was talking about running his comedy club, Comedy Club.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, not stressful, but how much of a mental load it is to like do all these things. And by the end, you're absolutely, you go home, you're absolutely knackered. You're like, blimey. I mean, it's a choice to do it, but it's like, it can't escape from the fact that it's a lot of work and then you're getting, and at the end, you're like, wow, that's knackering. And like, as Chris said, the MC, you go up to the MC and who's hosting, they're always a bit in their head because they're like they're juggling so many things.
Yeah.
So it is a whole new set of skills, and it takes time, as you say, like the calming the room down a bit, and also if someone has a bad spot, whatever reason, you have to deal with that, but not put that person who's just had a bad spot in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to. I think that's the worst thing an MC can do is try and get the room back by being rude about the previous act.
Yeah, when I've seen that in the past, it just makes me cringe. It's like, and even if I've had a bad gig and I see the MC getting up to say something, it's like you don't have to reference it. Everyone in this room knows that was shit. I know that was shit. Don't need to hear it was shit again because it's not going to do me any favors.
Well, that's the point. I mean, I've had it happen to me. So that experience has made me take that into emceeing We Are Funny project.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? It is a skill to try and do that. You know, it takes time to be able to do that. I mean, so if the MC does it, it's not always malicious. I don't think they're just like panicked. What can I do to get out of this? And I haven't got it down perfect, but you sort of, that's part of the emceeing, trying to learn. So you have the nice thing of trying to bring everyone down, but then you have the other one of trying to bring everyone up without denigrating the act that has just maybe killed the room a bit, because they might be like, actually it's usually 20 gigs in, maybe they've had some really good gigs, but this one's their bad one, and you're like, well, this is what we're here for. This is we're here for people to fail. Weirdly, we're like, I know, but it's true, isn't it? I feel you've got to have a space to be able to try stuff and fail, and not be denigrated for that. If you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think as well as like the MC, if they were to make a comment about your poor performance, and then the audience laughs at that, you're just like, oh, just get me out of this room. I don't care if it's a stayer. I'm out. That's just that's not right. That's wrong.
Yeah, and it might put them off doing stand up.
Yeah,
and it shouldn't really. I mean, just it's part and parcel of it. But it's up to the So it's not a perfect thing. Sometimes you get it. I've got it wrong. Trying to bring it up or back down or something like that. But because you're learning at the same time, if you're running an open mic night, MC, it's a difficult thing. It's fun to do and you learn a lot, but I think it's always worthwhile doing. But it does, especially if you're running the room as well.
So how did the role of the MC come about then? With We Are Funny, was it a case of job application as such, or spotted and asked?
Essentially, it was. I felt like it was one of my goals to try and MC a bit. So We Are Funny project has been going. It had its 10th birthday party last year.
Yeah.
So it's been going a while. So they have had guest MCs. Alfie Noakes, who started We Are Funny project 10 years ago, he was MCing it, and I think he was having a few MCs guest, and then do that. And I think Luke was doing it for a time. And so I just emailed a few promoters saying, the ones I've been to their nights and everything, and they sort of knew me, saying, oh, have you got any MC spots? I'd like to try it myself, try and do some MCing.
Yep.
And it was good timing because I think Alfie was looking for MCs. So he sat down with me and Luke and said, look, I really like you to MC. I really like you, but I want to step away. I want to step away to do courses. I want to concentrate on doing my courses because Alfie runs courses. He does different things, courses and everything. So he was like, I want to concentrate on that, but I want to leave you to run the night, book the night, MC the night. And I was like, okay. So he was like, sort of naively thinking, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then, then booking it. And then you're like, wow, this is a lot. But it was a great opportunity. And I'm always grateful for Alfie to give me that opportunity because they don't come along, especially regular MCing, because you get spots MCing to really like, all right, this is how it's going to go. And I had a few warm-ups and everything. I think that was December 2022. I had a few warm-up spots, half, you MC'd at half.
Yep.
And that was really cool. And it sort of went all right, not great. It's not going to go. And then me and Luke and Terry took it over emceeing and booking in January 23, and we've been doing it ever since. And it's been a learning curve. It's been fun. It's been awful sometimes, but only because that's the way, the nature of it. Like the nature of it it's been difficult. And now we've got a new MC who's really cool, Claire Samuels. I don't know if you know her. She's really great.
No.
She's just started emceeing with us, so that's really cool. So that's taken a bit of, we can take a bit of step back, me and Luke, and try and think of ways promoting the night and everything like that, like getting more people in. So that's so I think it's benefit, and it's great having Claire there because she's really cool MC. So that's how I really got into it. Really, it's sort of just applying.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you've got to chuck your hat in the ring, haven't you? When the opportunity arises, or even take the opportunity yourself and just say, look, give me a shot.
Yeah, and I got lucky, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is, well, it's not pure luck, is it? It's because there is a certain element of skill, because if you didn't think you were good enough to actually do it, then there wouldn't be that opportunity to do it.
And I think I felt okay about messaging as well, because I built up a relationship with the night. And and Alfie knew me as a comic. I've been doing the night for maybe a couple of years, maybe a year and a half. So he knew me as a comic. He knew me as a person, because you just chat. You turn up a bit early, you chat with people, chat with the promoters, and so I just made myself. It's something to be said with as promoting myself, like just person just chatting with you beforehand.
Yeah. I always think it's a good idea for any new comic that wants to get involved. Is always turn up to the nights that little bit early and make yourself known and be friendly and ultimately you're in a crowd of, you could be 10 to 15 people on a night, and if you want to be that little bit more memorable and booked again in the future, then just be friendly, just go up, offer to help, do silly things like that, and those kind of things get remembered, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even, I mean, we've all remembered a person, like, and like as a promoter, you remember, that person was cool. Yeah, they were really nice and everything. Don't essentially remember their set sometimes. You remember a few jokes of it. It's just the nature of it, isn't it? So, and it's just I don't know. Everyone wants to be there. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I think you've had your podcast, and the essential thing is to have a nice night and have fun with it, because it's our time. So we try and make, we are funny, we try and make it as a fun night as possible. Yeah, no,
I think it's so important to actually understand that you're not just there to hone your craft, you're also there to learn at the same time at this kind of level. And the only way you learn is by watching. And if you can stick around, watch, pay attention, and not sit on your phone trying to panic about what you're going to do, and just enjoy the night, you probably find that when you get on stage, you'll feel a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more, and things will flow a bit better. And you, by paying attention to what's going on beforehand, you can pick up those little things in the room that are going on, and something quirky or whatever, and make a reference to it, or make a reference to somebody else's set, and it adds to the experience of the audience and what they're experiencing, I think.
No, definitely. I mean, it is part of the skill of doing open mic comedy is actually being an audience member. It's odd, but it's hard, because we are all in, everyone is in their head thinking about their set.
Yeah.
I don't think it doesn't get any easier about that, but I think you sort of become a better audience member. You can become more engaged with the acts on stage, and I think that reciprocal. So if the other acts, if you're engaged, it makes a better atmosphere. So when you go on, the other acts are more relaxed and more engaged, and you have a better night. So if it is just, we've all done like just comic nights, like just that people, it's just a bunch of comics and maybe a couple of audience. If them comedians get on board with everyone, then it does become a better night, an easier night, and you can try and move different material out and everything like that. It's just working out what room it's like.
Yeah, I always think I've started to think nowadays I'm nowhere near what you'd call experienced in any of this, but sometimes when you have those nights where it is just comics, and it's almost like everybody in the room knows the situation. you almost feel like, I feel like I should now use that opportunity as a workshop, almost, to have the fun and just play around and steer clear of your set, almost. Maybe bring a couple of things in or change the odd little bit and try and work it out. But more often than not, it's now that opportunity to workshop in front of 10 to 12 other people and potentially get some kind of feedback as you're going along as well.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be something you can get out of the night. Excuse me. If there's stuff you're thinking about, this is the time to do it. This is the time to say it out loud. See what it sounds like when you say it out loud. You may not necessarily have any jokes for it. Just talk about a premise for a bit.
Yeah.
And you get something out of it. Everyone relaxes, and everyone will get something out of it. It's just, I think as you get a bit more experience, as you say, you realise what type of night it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you can adapt what you want to do to that. So
going back to when you started stand-up, what made you decide you want to do it?
I think essentially a love of comedy.
Yeah.
People laughing, just me enjoying comedy. and just, as I said, it came from that improv thing, but and you were in the back of your mind, is this something I can do? Maybe.
Yeah.
I've been doing improv, which I really love, and I've really enjoyed doing it. But those times I tried stand up, what if I did more than 2 gigs a month? If I did 3 or 4 gigs a week, when you start out, you're doing loads, which I think is great. I mean, you have to do what you can do, I suppose. You can't do tons if you can't do tons, but I could have the opportunity to do 3 or 4 gigs a week, and then just to try and see if you can get better. Really, can you do this? And then, okay, I've stood up in front of people. Can I get better at it?
Yeah,
which is always can I get funnier? Which is always the goal, isn't it?
Yeah, ultimately, you want that audience laughing back at you, so you end up having not to say as many words because the laughter breaks are there, and that's what we all crave and want and desire. But it can take so long to get there. But then you get some people that just have it. Yeah,
there is people, but I don't think it's having done it since, not for too long. But some people just have it, and it's cool, and some people just take time.
Yeah,
it just takes time. I mean, and then it's not great looking at them people who do have it because you think, why they're really good now, and they've been going the same time as me. But it's a perseverance thing. I think it's one of those things. You persevere at anything, you're going to improve. And it just takes people take different times to improve, I think. I think because we have Instagram as the main comedy what promotion thing. I mean, is it promotion? I don't know, but every comic's probably got an Instagram.
Yep.
And the good gigs go up there, obviously. How well they're doing, everything like that. And you see that, and you're like, wow, they're doing. That's great for them, It's great for them. But if you start thinking, they're doing that, I'm not, and it's like it does get a thing. But in the end, they're not. No one's putting up the gigs where you're doing in on a Monday when no one's laughing because they're necessary, them gigs. So it's an interesting one that we have. The experience we have of other people is probably not, a true reflection.
Yeah.
But there is people who crush it straight away, and that's cool, man. That's very cool. But there's people who crush it after 100 gigs, people who start doing it after 200.
Yeah, I think there's just a moment in time, isn't it? It must be where it just clicks, and you're just waiting for that moment where something clicks and you start to become a bit more consistent. And you then know that you can start delivering the lines how you want to deliver them, and you also get that you'll get that kind of immediate feedback on what's working and what's not. And knowing is, I've said it so many times before, knowing your set is so crucial because you can dip in and out of it, and you've always got that thing. You've always got the basement as such to fall back on and go back to. But that's the interesting point about the whole Instagram thing is that I've been speaking to a few people that have been on this before, And I said to him, you are smashing the hell out of the stuff I'm seeing. And he's like, you're seeing 25% of it. He said, the stuff that goes really well, that goes up, I'm really loving it. He said, but there are a lot of nights where, for whatever reason, something doesn't work, but I'm not going to put that up and say, unless it turned out to be funny in the end.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to say, I just bombed for 5 minutes on stage in front of
exactly,
100 people. You're just like, yeah, okay, all right. I get the point. I understand what you're saying. So
I
is that. Go on.
No, I think that's completely true what you're saying. I mean, I love a blooper. So I've always put stuff on my Instagram where things go slightly wrong.
Yeah,
which is probably not the best, way of promoting myself. But I find that when something happens in the room, it's it's just so. Yeah, there's different ways of doing it, I suppose. I mean, but it's time, isn't it? People are very good at, then people are very good at putting stuff up on Instagram, their comics, and they like crush it. It's like sporadic myself, but I try, I have found the time to write, dig, and do my Instagram. But there's people who do, and it's great for them,
Yeah, somehow they've got all that time to do it, or they're just a little bit more organised.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
It is an organisation thing, isn't it? I think you've mentioned on this, like doing open mic comedy, starting out in comedy is admin skill as well. So. Yeah,
it's making sure that you've got the nights that you're going to do lined up in the calendar. You're not going to let any promoters down. And there's always that thing of, okay, I'm at the point where I'm like, if I go to a new venue, it's like, I think, I've seen some of the other acts on the stage, and they generally get a good crowd. You go, right, what? I need to I've got my phone with me, so I need to take a tripod or something. Can I put the tripod from the floor? Do I need a table? And all those little things that go in your head. And it's really stupid things. But I don't know. For me, my brain gets caught up in the really silly things that don't really make a difference. And those become the distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I turned up to do Angel Comedy Club, and I was like, oh, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. This is the next level up, or a couple of levels up. And you go, right, I want to record it. It's like, okay. And I said to the guy, can I put like a little tripod on this thing? It's like a chest that sits in the corner. And he went, oh no, you can't put anything on that. People will be sitting on that. You're like, okay.
It's like audience.
Yeah. And it's like, he said, if you've got a floor standing one, you can put it at the back of the room if you want. Mm-hmm. He said, but we will be full tonight. So, it's entirely up to you. And you're like, oh. And it's just like, I want to capture this moment, but because it's so important to me.
Yeah.
But to them, it's just another night.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, just, if you ask a comedian in the little side room, they'll film it for you. It's like, I'll do that then. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I've got it, but I haven't got it as good as I could have had. Because when you see people that have had the shots that they've done from the back of the room, and you've got the whole thing, the whole stage in front of you. Whereas I've kind of got like this side-on view of me. It's just like, damn it. But you see, one thing that the guy did do was he filmed his own sets as the MC. But he used like a wall sucker.
Oh, right.
And it was
right. Yeah.
That's really clever. So I bought one. So if I ever walk into a room and there's nowhere to put something, I just chuck it on the wall.
All right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because it is part of the thing is like, because did you start filming yourself? I mean, when I started out, I just recorded audio. But now if I can, I do try and record not for any purposes, rather just me watching it back.
Yeah.
Did you start recording quite early?
Yeah, I think my first, I don't know how many gigs I've got them recorded. It's just like the first ever one was. Then my second gig was at the Cavendish Arms, so I bought the video that they sell for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think my third gig might have actually been a We Are Funny project.
Oh, right.
And I had that recorded. Yeah, so there's like probably the first between 5 and 10 have probably been recorded as proper video. But I find that sometimes there's nights I turn up to and I'll look at how the night's gone so far and go, it doesn't feel like it needs a recording.
Right.
But I will just do the audio.
Yeah. I think it's always good to have something, because you might say, even them nights where you think, oh, it's not going to be, you might say something in a certain way.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you don't record it, you definitely will. It's God's law.
Yeah.
Like, you go, oh, damn. It's like, I wish.
Yeah.
Why didn't I just record that? Then I have no idea how to do it. So, yeah, it's always, I started, I was just thinking, I did just do audio for the first couple of years, except for the ones that gave you, like, you could buy the video.
Yeah.
Which is useful. So I think Cavendish Arms, after the pandemic, started recording it. And during, sort of 2021, they used to do.
Yeah.
Which is a weird one, because they used to have like screens between the audience. So I think it was 2021. It must have been like 2021 when they had to come back, and they had like screens, like perspex screens between the audience, and you were sort of on stage, but you weren't. And each comedian had to have a mic, which was
okay.
So that was quite interesting. But I think you got recordings from that, but they have quite high quality ones. But it is a problem, like finding. Even now, I'm just finding I need to get a good recording so I can send to more promoters. And it's just finding that best way to do it. But that idea about the suction thing is very good.
Yeah, it's almost, sometimes it's the cheaper ones on Amazon work better than the more expensive ones. I will warn you of that. I've the one I bought for like £7 on Amazon sticks to anything. The one that was £20 odd that's got like a fancy arm that moves out so you can get all the angles. That doesn't feel like it's going to stick. It doesn't feel like it's going to hold. And you're like, oh, that's not good.
I suppose you want it to stick as well, but you don't when you're pulling it off to bring half the brickwork away. You're like, oops, sorry.
There is that part of it, and it's kind of like you kind of understand that using the suction cup. I can't believe we're actually talking about this. It's actually,
as long as we're talking about filming for comedy, everyone. There's not anything else.
It's such a simple idea, and I think it's something that I don't know if it's something like We Are Funny would do or whatever, but actually have a suction cup and have it stuck against a pillar, and everyone goes, you just put your phone in it, or have a couple of them so people can alternate. And then people haven't got that thing of going, oh, where can I set up a camera and all of that? And they can come in relaxing. Oh, just chuck my phone in there.
Yeah, no.
Like two before me or whatever. And you just get that thing with the video, because I think the thing with the video nowadays, I don't know what it was like when you kind of started with it, is that it's not just about what you say and what comes out of your mouth. It's how you act and what you do. You know, a facial expression can make a joke work a lot better. And it's understanding that. And I think you said it to me on one of my first 10, 15 gigs or something, was that what I tended to do, and I probably still do it to a point, is I gravitate backwards on the stage. So I don't know if it's like a subconscious self-defense thing where I'm trying to get away from the audience rather than embracing being in front of them. And I just naturally start moving backwards. I've done it. I still kind of do it every so often nowadays. There's one point I've hit the back wall, and you're just like, for fuck's sake. And like Kyle will say, there's a cross here where the microphone is. Oh, great, yeah, there's a cross there. But I look down at the end of the set, and I can't see the cross. Yeah, it's not because I'm standing on it. It's because it's too far in front of me.
Yeah, I think it's a thing that happens. I mean, everyone experiences it. When we in improv, just going back to that, you know, if the show's going badly, you can tell because the whole cast sort of drifts towards the back. So the audience are like there, and then the cast drift towards the back, and you have to remember to stand forward. Yeah. It's just a natural reaction to what sometimes we have what we're doing. It's like so, but I think it's overcome. It's easily overcome just by.
Yeah. It's just it just comes with the confidence part of it, and it's also knowing what you've done with what you're actually doing on stage and what you've done with the mic stand, for example. Simple things that just become a distraction. You know, I remember seeing an actor. I don't know who she was or whatever, but every time she did a punchline, she she kind of turned sideways to the audience and then kicked her legs in the air and went, ooh.
Right, yeah.
And it was just like every joke. And you're just like,
yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. Don't get it.
Yeah, I think I used to have it like tell when I started out, I used to tell the joke, but I found when I started recording, this is why it's good to record it, because I used to do the joke or the punchline or the afterthought, whatever you want to call it, and then sort of look away to the side. And it's sort of, and that's the confidence thing, because you haven't got confidence in what you're saying. You like just don't want to look at the audience reaction, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think it, but then that's the good thing about recording. So I noticed it. I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Maybe the joke's not landing so well. Not only reason, but because you're looking away as you're telling the joke.
Yeah,
you're not. There's a tell and everything that people audience go, oh, I noticed that, and the audience, because we think, oh, the audience don't notice anything, but they do notice stuff.
Yeah,
it's like just little things they notice, even in big rooms, like when you do bigger rooms, even like you have the expression goes a bit more. You have to be a bit more, but just the audience do notice. Like, well, when you watch comedy, you can tell someone's body language. It makes you laugh just because how they move suddenly from a joke, and it adds an extra dimension to the joke.
Yeah, I said it before. I do the thing where sometimes I'll mumble the punchline because it's the joke is supposed to be kind of like a self-deprecating part. So you get to the punchlines like, yeah, I'm a dickhead, but you kind of say it like that, and your expression of it might not be clear enough for the audience to actually understand what you've said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's finding that balance between doing it. So if you can see yourself doing it on stage and go, oh, I can see why that didn't land because nobody really understood what I was doing. But maybe if I do it in a different way and vocally express it, but facially do it differently, then it might work better.
Yeah. This is why it's why it's infinitely intriguing, infinitely frustrating. That's why we keep doing it, because there's the challenge of how can you make that better? How can you make that funnier? Which is my goal. How is there something there more in that joke that I can do?
Yeah. So talking about being on stage, then what is we delve into the depths of yourself, and what is the worst and the best moment?
God, yeah.
So your best and worst moment, whichever order you want, on stage, and what happened.
Well, I'm gonna take the worst and best at the same time.
Okay,
because I think the worst gigs, you don't really remember them unless something happens to make you remember them. Because you've always had them ones where you would turn up and it's like, oh, I know what this is going to be like, But it's all like that's cool, that's it. But I think the worst ones, and when something happens and then you get a good story out of it, like after the dust has settled, you're like, well, okay, you're a bunch of comedians looking around, you're like, oh God, this happened, and you can laugh back. But I think, and there's this whole cliche of like learning from the worst experiences.
Yeah.
So you've talked on this podcast, I know you've talked about gong shows. So I haven't really done a lot of gong shows, not the big ones, but I did the Up the Creek one.
Yep.
So this is a couple of years ago, maybe 2022, maybe. So I was okay, but I don't think it's a secret, but if you turn up to Up the Creek first, you're on first.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I sort of knew that. So I turned up. I thought, right, I'm going to turn up first. Also, I was just walking around Greenwich. I was like, just go in.
Yeah.
So, and I thought, I'm going to be first. That's fine. That's a challenge. you know what's coming. So I went. So I really enjoyed the experience. In a way, because I went up and I basically did my first joke, and I learned now this is what the joke wasn't the one to open with. I learned that it just wasn't. It worked sometimes, but I instantly didn't get any laughs. So the MC had like, "Hey, everyone! Like, this is the night, and it's a nice room, and I can't blame anyone except for myself because the audience were lovely. Yeah. Some people say the gong show's a bit, but we had a really nice audience. I was terrible. I'm not terrible. I just got I just got really, I didn't, coming off, I realised what I did wrong. I started off on the wrong jokes. They were sort of working in the rooms that I sort of knew.
Yeah.
And so I really lost the front row. I lost them, you know, and I learned then, like, if you lose the front row in a room like up the creek, you have no chance. Like the front row, you have no chance of the people at the back.
Yeah.
They're not laughing. They're at the back. They're basically getting drinks suddenly. So, and nothing was landing. They hadn't taken to me. I had one of them. It's going so badly. Like, you know, when you've had them gigs where you sort of try and make eye contact with someone in the audience and they look away.
Yeah.
So it was one of, and so I think I got you get 2 minutes grace at up the creek, and I got 2 minutes. So, and I got gonged off, and I came off, and it's always a bit like, oh God, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think but I'd been going a couple of years by then. I had enough things to be like, it's only, oh God, because you don't want everyone feeling bad for you, I think.
Yeah.
Like, actually, like, I'm okay. This is, you know, I'd want it to go well. I'd loved it to go well. So I came off, but it really taught me. So that's probably the worst one, which made me laugh. Like, after, now I can talk about it. It's sort of the worst one, but it taught me, like, oh, the structure of my set is not right.
Yeah.
And how I went about that gig wasn't the best way to do it. And the punchlines weren't strong enough. I wasn't strong enough. The audience were really nice. And also I so I came off and it was fine. And I stayed for the whole night, because some people came off and they didn't get gonged off. They take it quite badly. Yeah. And I which is fair enough. And but I stayed for the whole night. I had a great night. You know, I've got in free at Up the Creek Comedy Club. So that was probably the worst one, as in bombing in front of how many people? Yeah. Which is, I don't know, Up the Creek, what is it, 200 or something? Is it? I don't know.
It's got to be something like that, 250.
Which is, so it's worst. But coming off and going, okay, I think I've learned how to bomb now. Because that's a skill in itself. I think learning how to bomb. Also, it's quite funny because the people who avoided my eye, and this is why it makes a good story, who avoided my eye in the front row, when I was going home after the end of the night, they were in the DLR train station. And I came down and they looked at me, and the fear in their eyes when they saw me, thinking that I was going to go and talk to them to ask them how I'd done, was an experience. But I think that taught me how, like, I did improv for a while, and improv, you learn how to take a bad show. Yeah. Because sometimes it can go very badly wrong. But that was the first time I was like, okay, I think I've learned how to bomb and not take it too badly. Yeah. And go away, look at, I'm going to still do this. I've still some confidence left. And so that was one of my best nights, as in, learning something maybe. So that was my worst experience of bombing in that front of many people. But it was a good experience that I learned quite a bit about my set, about me, about what am I like as a stand-up, and different rooms as well.
Yeah, I think I've said it before. The gong shows have their place, but they have the place of, you have to go in with a very thick skin, and you have to know how you're going to cope with it. If the gong show is the first ever place you bomb in a biggest room that you've ever done, that can be quite demoralizing. But if you bombed before and know what that feeling's like, knowing it can happen in a bigger room, I don't think is as bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's just managing like the audience are thinking, why is this person doing it? Literally going, I feel, why is this person, they're not funny. And if you can get through that, if you've got if you've been going I think I've been going a couple of years by then, so you have a slight confidence that you are okay at it. You're brilliant, but you're okay at it. And you can keep that like protected.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you could be like doing them rooms and you bomb and you're like, okay, that was awful. that was an awful experience. Yeah. But why did I bomb? Why did I go up there? it wasn't for me. It wasn't the audience. I don't think the audience didn't not like me. I just didn't get them on side, and that I wasn't funny enough.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of comedians who went up there and they were funny.
Yeah.
And they've really done well. And the audience, because that is my own experience of gong show. I do understand there's some gong shows where the audience just want to see the comedians fail, but it really felt that room wanted. Well, after I'd been on, I felt like they wanted the comedy, especially the person after me. They really wanted to succeed because they were like, "Christ, not another one, please, God, it's got to be better than that bloke." So, and I think they did quite well. The second person, they didn't thank me, but I think I laid the groundwork for them.
I'd love to see it at one of the harsh gong shows where they just the audience are just in one of those moods, and they don't feel like they're there to be entertained. They're there just to piss people off by just getting rid of as many as they can. And it'd be funny just to see, everybody walks in at 7:00, takes a seat, gets a couple of drinks, and then it's gong, 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 gong. And the MC turns up at 8:30 and says, "Well, you might as well go home. We've run out of acts." That was a bit harsh, wasn't it? See you later.
I mean, I haven't done, as I say, that really, that is the only, apart from a couple of smaller gong things where it's just like, that was the biggest one. I haven't done one since, really.
No.
Because you have to sort of go, all right, this is going to be the night. I might not get anything from it. Yeah. And if you're trying to be, I don't know. Do you think they make people funnier, gong shows, by doing gong shows? They make people funnier? I don't know. Because you're not really working on anything. You're just sort of...
Yeah. I mean, if you're like me as a bit of a storyteller, a gong show just doesn't really work unless you are punching every line that you say. But if you're trying to do one of those long-winded kind of setups and the end is going to be the payoff, the gong show's not the right thing for you, because you'll never get to the end. You'll never give them they'll never get the satisfaction of getting that, and you'll never get the satisfaction of leaving your best till last. So it's almost like they say, you open with your best and finish with your second best kind of thing. And sometimes that's just it's not somebody's set. If you're a one-liner, like somebody like I've seen Marc Rivlin recently put up clips from, and because every joke is independent, it doesn't matter. It's just is the next joke going to be any good, and it keeps people interested, so it works really, really well. But if I'm there talking about, I don't know, being a bloke and not remembering shit, it just doesn't. It doesn't have it. It doesn't have that. I want to hear the next line, unless it relates to those people in the audience that are fortunate enough to be holding the cards. And if they're not, if those aren't the people, they're just like, yeah, see you later. Yeah, you see it when somebody comes on, and if somebody says I'm gay or something, it's just like, and then all of a sudden you can see that people are suddenly twitching. And if it's not a diverse crowd, shall we say, things like that, just bong, you're gone. And think, what I mean. There's somebody that we both know, and I won't name him, but he did a gong show at Up the Creek last year. And I remember sending him a message beforehand saying, good luck to it. I hope it goes well. You'll smash it. You've got those type of jokes. It's going to go to fine. And he said, he got on stage, and he's an Asian guy. He got on stage and he said, within telling one joke, there was one of the card holders had the card up straight away. I was like, no, you've got to give him time. Basically, she was probably racist. Just seen an Asian guy go, I'm not interested. Yeah. Get him off. And he's just like, what?
Yeah, they have their... I think you talked about it on the podcast. They have their place, and I think it's good to do. As I say, it's good for me to do, because I realised my set wasn't where it was.
Yeah.
And it was a nice... And I have to give it credit. It was a nice crowd.
Yeah.
But my set wasn't where it was. I wasn't where I was as a performer. So I came off. So that was like the worst one, I think. But it's sort of, in terms of putting a marker in the sand, going, I need to do this. It was probably one of the best ones I learned from.
Yeah. I think it's a great part to have. Your best and worst is actually the same, because you can turn adversity into triumph in a way and learn from it, rather than... It's the other thing is, when, as a startup comic, I would say to people, please tell me what I've done wrong. What didn't go? I need to know, because if I keep doing this and I'm still getting nothing, and I've got somebody there going, all he needs to do is just change this bit and do this and do that. And nobody's telling me, and I'm missing the point. I'm just throwing the same shit at the wall that's not sticking. And somebody's there to help. And that's what I want from my part of this community, is to help, and people to help me go, that didn't work. Like, you come up and say, you're walking backwards on the stage, stay still. So that's perfect advice.
Yeah, I think I was just trying, as a GMB, I think, wasn't it? I think, because also people, I don't usually give, I think because I knew you as well, I was just chatting to you in the bar, so it felt like something I could say. I mean, there is, and also you being amenable to it. I wouldn't go, if I didn't know a comedian,
no,
I wouldn't, I would never go up to them or give them advice or anything like that, because also, what do I know? It's just, but I think because we were chatting, and I think maybe it just came up, and I just said, I noticed you just drifted back.
Yeah.
And it always, if someone says something to me like that, it's always helped me. But is it like, I think that's always good to have someone you trust, or like you sort of know from the circuit, to say, oh, you've done this, or you ask them, you say, oh, that was a bit weird, it didn't land, and they're like, oh, right, because you weren't in the light.
Yeah.
You weren't stood in the light. It's the simple things. It's like that sort of just affect the audience perception of you. So I like feedback. Obviously not. There's a time and a place for it, I think.
Yes.
And if you're talking to people, if you sat down with someone you like, and as a comedian, you're like, well, what about that joke?
Yeah.
Why don't you think that? What do you think I should do that joke? And they're like, well, it doesn't really work for you, I don't think. You could try it differently.
Yeah.
And then informal and the scene's very good for that. You find as you go along people who you can do that with. Yeah. And which makes it a nice community to be in. Like, so you understand people, you can just go, you get friends, you go, I've got this, I've done that joke a few times. And they're like, well, you just weren't staying in the light. Simple things like that.
Or you just looked away at the wrong time, or something. It's just those little bits of helpful advice. And I completely agree. Don't go up and give unsolicited advice and say, yeah, you could change this and change this. But if somebody comes up to you and says, especially if I come up to you and say, right, what went wrong? Please just be as brutal as you're honest, because I
mean, I think it's just like giving people feedback. It's the skill as well, isn't it? Like, you don't want to be like, oh, that was, you shouldn't do that, because you have to try things in different ways. Yeah. There's got to be, what I do, sometimes it's like, I think you've talked about it, it's like, if you've got a bit that's not working, I mean, sometimes it's like, just don't get rid of it completely. Yeah. Just put it to one side, and then it might come back, it might not, but just go into something that has got a bit more, something in it that's working. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I think somebody said it recently on a podcast, was you don't just shelve a joke, don't put it in the bin.
Exactly. There's always not kill your darlings, sort of remove your darlings to another room.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I think somebody said there's never a bad joke, it's just an underdeveloped joke.
Yes.
It's an interesting way of putting it.
Although I'm sure I got some bad
I think he followed it with a caveat of, so long as it's not racist or homophobic or...
I mean, sometimes jokes just don't work for you, and they work for someone else. And that's part of...
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it?
It's finding out what works for you. I mean, you might have a great joke, but it's too dark for you, or it's too, or one-liner comedians is... But you have to try. You have to try them. I mean, you write them at home, and then it's your decision whether to try them on stage. Yeah, and it's either going to work, and you go, "Well, that wasn't that. I'll never tell that again because it didn't feel right." Yeah, not for any reason. It's just like, not because it was like massively offensive or anything. I'm just talking about, like, it could be a like silly little pun, but you like go, "Well, just it was too like that." It's just finding that perfect spot of material and how you are on stage. Like, for some people, as we said, it happens straight away. Yep. We all know them comics is like, get up there and they're like, that you can exactly see what they're about, and they match the material is great, And then it's like you see comics like, well, the material's good, but they're not quite there on stage or something like that. But there's no time, there's no like given time for that, I don't think, as we come back to like how long does it take?
Yeah. I mean, there isn't a finish line in this.
No, because and that's the thing. It's like you can set yourself small. I think setting yourself small goals. I always think go after like a couple of. Am I getting any better? That is when like, am I getting better? Do I feel like I'm getting funnier?
Yeah.
That's the metric? If so, all right, keep going. You know, keep going. Try and get a few. Do more gigs. But that's the metric. Am I getting any funnier? But yeah, there's no, and you can hit them goals as well. Like MCing was a goal, which was like, oh, that's nice, cool, I achieved that. You know, like doing as you say, doing Angel was a goal. Like doing Angel, doing that. I mean, I've done Angel. That's really a fun night, and it is, as you say, like, oh, this is a step up from the mics.
Yes,
because I think I did it, and I was like talking to people like the comics beforehand, and you had like the pros on the same bill as you, don't you?
Yeah.
So you're talking to them, and they're like, and you realise they're doing a Soho run at the time. You're talking to them. You're like,
it's just bizarre,
and it's wonderful because it gives you an insight of what it's like and where you are.
Yeah,
and what you need to do, and I didn't, and I don't know how you did it, Angel, but I did all right. I mean, I turned up on time, I ran to time, and I was pleased about that.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't crush it or anything. The audience laughed at bits and everything like that. I didn't bomb, but I was, I turned up on time. I know this is taking away like small things, but it wasn't like I turned up on time. I ran to time.
Yeah,
the MC, I got along with the MC, got along with the other acts, and that was it. I was happy with that. So.
Yeah, my Angel experience was kind of similar, except I always turn up early because I travel into London via trains and stuff. It's just I'm governed by the train. I'd rather get the earlier train than the one that might get me there roughly on time. I'll be there an hour early. Yeah. I mean, I went to do Comedy Incorporated last night, and I got there before 6. Oh, yeah. It doesn't start till 7:30.
But that has benefits as well. Can you see if you've never been to the room before, you can see what room it is. And also you meet the MC and the promoter, and you can say hello if you've never met them before. And also you can relax a bit as well.
Yeah. But no, when I did Angel, it was just one of those bizarre experiences where everyone takes the picture of the little whiteboard with everybody's names on it. Mm-hmm. And my natural thing then is when I go home after a day of like taking it in, and because I had a really good gig, it went really well.
Oh, right, nice,
I
cool.
Pretty much ran to bang on the 5 minutes.
Yeah, good.
And I went through the list of people that I'd gigged with and went, oh, that one. And then you look on their Instagram and kind of go, oh, so that one's just been supporting Jamali Maddox. And you're talking to this guy, he was a support act for Tom Allen on the Irish leg of his tour. He was like, and I've just been on the same stage as them, which is weird.
And sort of great, because that, you get the sense of what a different room is like. The expectation of the audience is different from an expectation of an audience that the rooms we've been doing, say at We're Funny Project or another great night GMB or Comedy Incorporated. It's a different expectation, and I think it only can help you doing them nights, even if you don't like do it again for a while. It's like just have that experience and just to be in amongst it.
Yeah.
It's exciting and really and also it's an achievement to do it.
Yeah.
It's like people think it's like, but doing that room is like one thing to tick off. It's like, oh, cool. It's like as you say, there's no finishing line. So you have to sort of make these finishing lines. The ones like doing Angel, doing Up the Creek, so you can go, well, I achieved that. Like just going to a gig on a Thursday. Yeah. It's like, cool, this is nice, man. I'm doing a gig on a Thursday in a nice room. It's nice. It's enjoyable.
I think it's that first step, isn't it, where you're in front of a non-comedian crowd as such. Like Up the Creek, Backyard, whatever. It's the whole bringer thing and all of that's a whole different argument. When you go in front of if you're in front of a room at like Angel, when I was there, I was in the second half, so I stood at the back of the room watching everyone else for most of it, and then went to like their little side room as on the start of the second half. But I'm there going like I'm going counting heads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're seeing how many people. It's like, okay, there's 75 people in this room, this small little room.
Yeah.
There's people literally sitting on top of cabinets.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is so cool.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And it's that difference from any open mic night where there's 30 seats and maybe 20 of them are filled. And it's that, I think you need to be able to do it in the bigger rooms just to see where you are and use that as a benchmark.
Yeah. As I said, like doing the Up the Creek, even though I'm not really doing gong shows, it was a nice a couple of years ago to see, as I say, get a benchmark about where I was with my material, how I was doing it in. Because sometimes you go, I mean, I love like open mic comedy rooms because each one is quite different from each other.
Yeah,
you know, and you learn to do them. I mean, I've been doing for a while, so you learn to do rooms, but it's always good to have these new experiences. Like doing a gig on a Friday is very different from doing a gig on a Tuesday.
I can imagine.
I haven't really done, but I've been lucky to MC like a room on a Friday, which is like a semi-pro night. I mean, it's just a different type of thing to MCing.
Yeah,
a open mic night. Each one is equally enjoyable. It's just a different set of things you need to skills you got, I suppose. Not to get too Liam Neeson on it. But you know, there's different elements, and becoming a better comic is to be able to experience all that.
Yeah,
I think.
So, kind of going back to, you said your first joke didn't really land Up the Creek. Just kind of segues onto the whole. What is your favourite joke? Doesn't have to be your best joke. Your favourite joke. How you came up with it, and has it developed over time and changed?
Well, I was thinking about this. My favourite joke that I ever done was an in the room joke, which for the non-comedians listening is like a joke you come up with on the night for when you go on. Just for people who don't know what it is. And this was at a gig called Jollies at the George. I don't know if you've ever.
No,
it's not on. It doesn't run now. I think it's shut down. But it was a difficult room anyway, because it's a pub gig essentially.
Yeah.
So, but you was on a stage, like a band stage,
right?
And they had overbooked. They double booked everyone. So instead of 15 comedians, there was 30 comedians.
Wow.
So you can imagine. And it's a pub. So there's a pub, and there's a stage which usually has instruments on, because that's where you go up. And there's no chairs in front of you, and everyone's sitting around the side. And there's a lovely room, and I really enjoyed doing the night. But this one was like, and I think anyone had to sign up with the MC, and I think I was number 26. So this is, I'm very proud of this joke and it was long. I mean, the MC bailed after the 10th act.
Wow.
So he went, "Oh, you can just introduce yourselves." So people, and it wasn't, so the comedians were going on, but they were leaving. So it was just hardy souls. So I was like, what can I do here? I'm going to go on about 20 past 11. Or something like that. I don't know what time it was. It was late, and there was like 3 people. And so I was like, I need to do something here, because if I'm just going to go up and do my 5 minutes, it's going to be the biggest waste of time for everyone. So I decided I'd do this joke. I'd go on. I'll tell you now. I'd go on. And just say, "Hello, I'm Paul Little," and then just introduce the next act. And I'm so proud of that joke, because I checked with the promoter, because the promoter was still there with kind of his head in his hands as well, because he'd had enough. And so I checked with the next act after me. I was like, I'm going to do this joke. And they were like, why? And I was like, because it's just ridiculous. It's the most, to wait all this time and not go on, it's funny for me.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and it got a big laugh. And that is my favourite joke. Not the best joke,
No.
but it was the joke I needed to do for the night because it was just everyone. I could have gone up there and did but it would have been a waste of time. So that was, so I just went, so I just got up there, said, hello, I'm Paul Little. Please welcome to the stage.
I think that's actually genius. I think it's brilliant.
Well, I just thought, and that's my favourite joke I've done because it was just like, what, and it taught me to like what jokes needed for the room, like what is this night, like what can I do to make everyone laugh? Yeah. And it certainly wasn't my 5 minutes of material because everyone was like fatigued. I mean, after 27 acts, everyone, no matter how much you love comedy,
God,
and it was and it was like the hardy souls, and by hardy souls I mean comedians who are on after me, some comedians and alcoholics, basically. So, and I just thought, and I stayed for the rest of the night because I thought it was sort of just that what made me laugh.
Yeah, I it's brilliant.
So that was that's my favourite joke I've had because it taught me like what can I do for the room? Yeah, what can I make people? What's the best joke to make people laugh here? And it sort of did make the room laugh. So, and it was perverse as well. It's like I've waited all this time to go on, and I haven't gone on, and that made me laugh for me. And I was like, I think that's the best joke. That's my favourite joke I've done.
Yeah, but you've never had to use it again.
No, God, no. I hope
it'd be quite funny.
Yeah, because I checked because I didn't want the promoter thinking I was taking the piss.
Yeah.
Or the act after to be surprised. So I checked with them. I was like, and they were like, what? I was like, well, why not? I mean, come on, let's do it. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Hopefully it's funny. I mean, it could have gone bad. Then everyone like, oh, all right. But I think it's because everyone was like going, I hope this finishes soon.
Yeah,
you know, that it got a good laugh for the people who were there. So yeah, that's not my best joke, but it's my favourite one I can think of to tell you.
No, I really like that one actually. It's because it's so different. It's just completely unexpected, and it's like it's almost the nod to the audience to say, look, I know you lot are knackered, so I'm not going to take up 5 more minutes of your time. You can blame the rest of the bastards for doing that.
Yeah, I know, and it's a choice. I mean, I just felt also that it worked because I felt it's put annoying to myself that I've waited all this time. and just not gone on. So me not going on was the best joke I've ever done. So take from that what you will.
Oh, that's brilliant. So if you were to if things were to go really well and you become super famous, and your first joke wasn't going to be introducing the next act live at the Apollo in front of 5,000 people, what would you pick as your walk-on music?
Oh well, I don't have to think about this because I don't have to even become super famous because now I MC. I have walk-on music.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, if you're an MC and run a night, you can do this. So whether that I thought I'd never become super famous, so I better find out how to do this. But the trick is because the walk-on music, you never get fully the walk-on music though, because you can't have. So it's the song before you probably have to have if you want a song.
Yeah.
But the music I go on to a We're Funny project is Elvis Costello, and I think I've forgotten Pump It Up. I think it is.
Oh yeah. I know
that song. That's the one I go on because it's got a good intro.
Yeah,
because you can come on to the intro. You know, and I still do it even if it's just a quiet night. I mean, why not? All the comedians are like, and the audience are like, what is this guy? I start blaring it out. I'm like, it's my moment.
Yeah.
Look, I've done all the admin. I am going to walk onto this song. So there we go. It's been quite easy because I have so Elvis Costello, Pump It Up.
I like it. I like it a lot. I guess there's I guess anybody on the open mic circuit, it always makes me laugh is when I talk about walk-on music. I've never mentioned this before. Is whenever you hear happy, you just go, GMB. It's just now in your head. I was fortunate enough. I saw the Bellagio fountains, and the music was happy in the background, and your brain immediately goes.
Yeah, you go and sit. You start looking for your seat. That's just a Pavlovian response. Carl's bred a Pavlovian response into a lot of comedians being happy. But I took that for We Are Funny project. So I love music. So I've done a playlist for the night because I quite enjoy listening to music and having music. So and then I sort of from Carl's night I was like, I'll get a song that I like just before.
Yeah,
like say everyone sit down. It's not as good like as Carl's one, like Pavlo, like gets people sitting down. But I can go, all right, turn it up a bit. This one's the song before we all get seated. You'd start turning the lights off and everything like that. So everyone gets there. So it has a purpose. It has a quite purpose and everything like that. So, but yeah, that happy song is you do start. I was at G&B last night and I was talking to Tony Carr, good comic, and we were Kyle has that show business song, and then you're like, it stops. You're like, dung, dung, dung. Here we go.
I like it. I like the Elvis Costello Pump It Up. It's nice energy, giving it, and and
also it's got an intro, so you don't want. It's difficult to come on with people singing. I find. Yeah. I don't know. So you can just come on to the intro. Rather than anyway, so I didn't have to get super famous. Luckily, probably for the best. So you just have to start. If you want to start your own comedy night, you can get your own intro music if you so wish. That's the reason. That's the reason I took it on, so I can walk on the stage to my intro music.
So whilst you've been doing your MC for We Are Funny and stuff like that, is there anybody you've seen on that stage you've gone, they're gonna be something?
I mean, you see lots of great comics. I mean, I don't want. If I start naming people, I mean, then I'll start leaving people out. But we have Funny Project. We have headliners, like semi-pro headliners, pro semi-pro headliners, which is always a joy to do because some of the they're all great. Our headliners, and I love them, and I'm not picking anyone out, but and most of them, but it's great to watch. So rather than it's like. Lovely to watch headliners do their stuff in a room like We Are Funny Project, anywhere really, just trying out stuff because you realise everyone's in the same boat. If you watch the headliners, they have a way of doing it which is like different from a person like who's got 10 gigs, like doing new material. Yeah. But it's always great to see the risks the headliners take just to come up and do stuff. So they're really nice. Like the headliners we get are really nice about the night, and which is always good because sometimes when new comics are like, "What is this? What is like an open mic night?" and they come in, it's a room for people to try stuff. And when the headliners are like, "Oh, we're trying this stuff," they're like, "Oh, they're doing Comedy Store, they're doing Top Secret, and they've come to try stuff here." There's a reason because that's what you need to do. Yeah. But which is not answering your question really. but that's like, so that I've seen, so I mean, we are Funny Project, we do like progression. So we have 5s, 10s, and then when you can intensity, we have a 15-minute progression spot. Yeah. And then like after a time, people get 20-minute spots. So we can give, it's always just nice to see comedians progress because you're not supposed to, it's not always the way people do well after 10 gigs. They're not all, they don't have their material. So, and then you have, as we discussed, people who do, like crush it with their 10th gig, and it always takes different people. And I think it's always nice just to see people coming back after 3 or 4 months and you're like, wow, they've really worked on their stuff. Yeah.
I think there is a certain aspect of that. There's kind of like there's kind of barriers in the way. So the 10th gig is always one where I think you kind of hit those double figures. Mm-hmm. And to anybody outside of the circuit and to anybody new in the circuit, it sounds like a lot. But then when you realise it's nothing at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really start finding themselves, and I still haven't, and I'm up to 50, nearly over 60 gigs now, and I still don't know where I am and what I'm doing. And it's one of those things where you just kind of have to get into the moment and accept. Again, you think about there's no finish line, but if you can get from a 5 to a 7, and then you can consistently be booked for a 7, for example, and then maybe the odd 10s, you're doing 10s once or twice a month. That's huge progression. And if you can do that within your first 100, I think that's massive leaps that you can do, especially if you're the sort of person that can't gig 3 or 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have to. Sorry, come on.
No, go Karen.
No, that sense of setting goals for yourself. I want to do a 7-minute, but also there's people who push themselves forward for 10s and everything like that, and then there's people who I think it's really nice when you start getting off at 10s and 7s and 10s.
Yeah, but
there's always a benefit of still doing 5s.
Yes,
I think even we have a comedian I really love, who does Our Night We Are Funny. Who's done it for is Rick Keyswetter. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
Yeah, he was the headliner the last time I did We Are Funny, and
he is like fearless when he goes up to do stuff. He's like, and he's a really nice person as well.
Yes,
he's a really nice bloke, and he will stick around to talk to people, like the newer acts and everything like that. And headliners do that. We're funny. They make time to chat with newer acts and stuff like that, which is lovely.
Yeah.
But Rick always just messaged me. He goes, "Can I get a 5? Is there like he will like just because he's on his way back from another gig and he's like, I want to try something. Have you got a 5? And I'm like, of course. And I take that for me as well. I'm like always looking to do 5s because you always can do something.
Yeah.
With a 5, and also the level we're at. When you get the bigger gigs like Angel, maybe Backyard, you get 5s.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to do 10s, but I think it's like you have to remember to keep your 5 fresh and tight, and what's the best 5 you've got, and keep refreshing the best 5.
Yeah.
Because if you start doing 10s, you may chop material out of your 5, but you're not going to know that until you do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I love doing 5 still. Well, luckily, because that's what people give me. But I think it's but it's lovely when people offer you 10s. But I think and longer spots and 7s. But I always think like having a 5 is not going back down from a 10 to a 5 is not an insult. Like people, like it's an opportunity to do maybe 3 minutes of new material while doing a couple of minutes of your stuff that's going to work to try and get it. But me looking at Rick Keyswetter, who's like does Top Secret and stuff like that, but wants to do 5s. Yeah. Like wants to go to smaller rooms and do 5s because it's how you, and he's fearless with his 5s. I mean, when he comes up, he's like, I'm just amazed, and I'm like, I was like, that's how I want to go about it, and you've talked about on your podcast, watching headliners, learning from headliners. Yeah. How they work, and it's such a privileged thing to be in if you're in an open mic room and a great headliner comes on, and like does material and how they do it, but also when their gold just kills as well with the comics in the room. They just get everyone on board, and you're like, well, they got everyone on board, so and it's just that skill set, and it's great to watch, and it's just fun to watch because you're getting like a person you'd have to pay to see at Comedy Store or Top Secret. You're getting in to see them for just to see them, try out stuff, which I think is like, that's why I really like, open mics I love, because it is that ground. There's no easy way of doing it, is that you do have to just put the timing and try stuff, and it's not going to work. But you build up the resilience of it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's what I said about the Up the Creek, learning that. Well, I've learned how to bomb now.
Yeah. I remember seeing Rick do his thing, and he done. I don't know if it's part of a routine or not, or what, but he kind of got up and just started talking about mic technique, and he held the microphone next to himself and behind his back and stuff like that. Like, you don't really need this thing. You just project, project, and you're just like, it was almost like you were being part of a workshop.
Yeah.
But it was funny, entertaining, and a routine.
Yeah. I think that is. I've seen his club set, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you do go and see, if you see Rick on a bill and Top Gear, just go and see him, because he's just 20 minutes of pure. It's just funny. Yeah. It's just pure funny. But yeah, he comes. I've seen him come on to We Are Funny stage just wearing noise cancelling headphones, and he does a 5-minute bit of not being able to hear anyone. And I don't know if that's gone to anything else, but that is what open mics are for. Because I think, experimenting, know, that idea, and I think after a while you get into that position where you can do that. But I think also when you just have under 100 gigs, it's always I'll pick this gig to go up and do this.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it's just. We went off the question. I can't even remember the question. I think I started off like you asked me what acts are coming through, and there's tons. And then we've gone off on a massive tangent to talk about headliners. But there's loads of acts coming through that I really love. Abby Cole's one. She's a great comic. So she's. Do you know Abby? Abby
no,
Cole?
I don't know Abby.
She's brilliant. She's done We Are Funny project for a while. And she now, I think she's doing the 15-minute progression spot.
Okay.
We Are Funny in a couple of weeks. So she's a great comic. But who else? Phil Henderson, who I really love, who's moved up to Newcastle. He came down to do a headline spot. So yeah, no, it's just cool to see people go from like 5s, 10s to getting like really good, and you can offer them that progression spot. Yeah. Like who else is there? Marcus Beebe, he's great as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jen Zeng, she's great as well. She's done like the headline spots at We Are Funny.
Cool.
Like coming through 5s, 10s. I mean, I'm leaving loads of people out.
It's a natural thing.
It's a minefield, because now I don't want people to go, no, you didn't mention me, Paul. I was thinking about you, but all the people that come through. But all acts have potential, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
There's not any act. It's going back to that thing about being an MC promoter. Like if you're bad, I'm not judging you on, but if you go up there and that goes up there and doesn't do well, it's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
The nights, that is what the night is for.
Yeah.
There are some nights, that more tailor their bill, so they're going to get, and as I think Chris was talking about, I just go by number of gigs we book.
Yeah.
I don't look at videos or anything when I'm booking.
Okay.
We Are Funny. Because it's not about the material, it's more about just getting people up there and opportunities to do it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Which is, and so if people don't do well, it's like, well, that's the way it goes.
Yes.
It's not necessarily, it's like, that's the nature of the game, isn't it? So you always start out brilliant. So,
I know that one.
Well, no, it's true. I mean, the open mics are there for a reason.
Yeah.
And the reason is to practice what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it takes, as we say, we keep coming back to this point, but it takes some people 100 gigs. It takes some people, I'm including myself here, more than that. Because it just takes more than that, because you find yourself and your material over time. And some people do that very quickly, and I can think of some acts, and you can think of some acts who've already done that very quickly. What's his name? You had him on the podcast recently, Jim Hooker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned he's the person who gets up there, instantly know what he's about.
Yeah.
He's a funny man, brilliant, really nice person as well. And then, and he could tell like from the start, he like 50 gigs in, that is cool. But then it's taken me like longer. So it's just, I mean, I remember my 100th gig. I think I didn't know it was my 100th gig. I found out that I bombed. So I counted. I was like, I must be near 100 gigs. So you do a roundup every now and again when you're getting towards that mark. And I was like, I'm sure I'm near my 100. So I counted it back, and it was at Comedy Virgins, where I just was absolutely shocking. So it's quite arbitrary, like the gig count. But we need something to say, this is how many gigs we've done. It is an indication as that experience, but it's not as well, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're kind of starting to wrap up now, but I want to introduce you to the Comedians Challenge. As you're a listener, you know what's coming.
Okay, yeah. I'm up for it.
For those that are the first-time listeners, I am challenging all comedians to tell a joke live on stage, film it, tag us in it on Instagram. And the joke comes from a book called The Little Book of Shit Jokes by Sid Finch.
Okay.
The comedians get to pick their own joke that they can tell on stage. However, they only get to pick it by page number. So they don't know what they're going to get, and I don't know what they're going to get. And it's always interesting to see how people integrate these into their sets, or whether they do them standalone. So, Paul, I'm assuming you're going to be up for this, because you can fit this nicely into an MC slot somewhere.
No, I'm going to put it in a proper slot.
That's what I did with mine. Mine went in a slot, and I actually used it for about 3 gigs.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good. I mean, I won't do it the MCing, but I'll put it in I'll slip it into the set somewhere.
So go on and give us a page number or a number between 5 and 95.
I'm going to say 33.
33. You've got 2 jokes on this page. Would you like joke number 1 or joke number 2? Let's
go for number 1.
Okay. The teacher says, what's the difference between lightning and electricity? The pupil, the lightning bill doesn't make my dad swear.
There you go. It's topical as well. With the cost of living.
Yeah.
That's good. Are you going to email me that? I don't have to write it down.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of the page, and you can take it from it.
I think that'll be good.
It's better than some of them, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think it's a killer. I think definitely my, it's with my dad being an elderly man, that's definitely something I'd say to him. I mean, he has the heating on a lot.
See, this is, I say it every time, but this part fills me with joy, because you already see somebody trying to work out the bits around the stupid joke and what they can bring to it. And it's just, it does something to the creative juices of such a people, just to go, okay, how can I do that? I've been set a challenge. I've got to do this challenge. And I don't know. It's in our nature as writers.
Yeah, you think like, can I switch it to first person, or should I keep it into the third person with?
You can change it. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a teacher. You can change it to however you want, as long as the premise roughly stays the same.
Okay. Yeah, no. I mean, the skill is maybe you could try and do it exactly the same, but we'll see. Let me have a think. I've got the Gong Show soon, so let me open with it. Now that would be brave.
That would be very brave.
But it would be funny.
Okay, then. So where can people find you on the socials then?
Paul Little Comedy, Instagram. That is where I am. And we have an Instagram for We Are Funny Project as well. That's being revamped at the moment. We're just having a look at that.
Okay.
The Instagram. But also we have We Are Funny Project website. If people do want to come and do We Are Funny Project, we have a website. You can sign up to a mailing list. And we have a Facebook group people can join to get spots. We're always looking for new comics and everything, people coming through and everything like that. And it's, try and make it a fun night, me and Luke and Claire, to do. So people can get that. That is the places then, really.
Cool. We Are Funny runs on every Tuesday and Wednesday in Dalston, in North London?
Fars in Dalston, which is in the basement of Fars. It's been there 8 years, so it's a really nice room.
Yeah,
it's a really nice room for comedy. We have a stage, and a spotlight. So, well, some people, that is it's nice to do like that is a nice thing.
Yeah.
It feels when I run on with my like opening music, that it feels good. Run on from the back of the room with people cheering me and congratulating me on my choice of songs. That's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. You can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We're on the W's at openmiccomedypod.com. If whatever platform you're listening to this on, please give it a follow, subscribe, whatever it is. A nice little 5-star rating would be much appreciated. Get us up the rankings a bit, because at one point we were 11th in the Great Britain comedy stand-up charts for iTunes.
Wow, nice.
So, the numbers are there. They're growing. How they do their algorithms, I don't know. But positive things have got to do positive things.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So
don't question it.
Yeah. So anybody that also just share it with friends and family and people that you know that might be interested in it and might get something from it. And until next time, thank you very much, Paul, for your time.
Thank you.
And
Lovely.
I'll speak to you all again very soon.